So today we're going to talk about one of the hot topics with EVs, and that's range anxiety. And I've had this bike for almost a year. I've put over 5,000 miles, and I've only dealt with range anxiety one time. But I wouldn't call it range anxiety, I would call it my failure to plan anxiety. And I'm going to get into what happened, why it happened, and the fact that it's really not range anxiety with an EV. I've had more range anxiety when I had my Harley Davidson than I've had with this. Let's get started. So what happened on this bike that would cause me to have range anxiety or failure to plan anxiety? Well, me and this other guy who rides, we decided to meet up and go for a ride. And we were going to ride to a road that had some twisties on it, essentially. Now, the route that we would take from my home would be about 42 miles one way and then 42 miles back. And I will show you the route now. So as you can see on that graphic, this bike here, when it's 100% charged, it has a range of about 110 to 120 miles based on how I ride and based on the conditions outside. So with an 84-mile round-trip ride, no problem. I'll get back with 30% state of charge. So what happened was we met up, kind of not halfway to where our turnaround point was, but about 15 miles from my house. We met up, and then we rode from there. But what happened is that because I have a flip phone, I counted on him because he lives down in that area to know where to go and how to get to these roads. So what I'm going to show you next is the route that we ended up actually taking. So here it is. So as you can see, the route that we ended up taking was about 60 miles, would have been about 60 miles one way, or 120 miles the entire round trip. And mind you, if you notice on there, that route takes us down a highway 17. So instead of going 55, 60 miles per hour down country roads, we ended up driving 65, 70 miles per hour. And if you know anything about EVs, the faster you go, the quicker the battery goes down, which makes sense. But it's more intense of a difference compared to a gasoline-powered vehicle. Those actually get a little bit better at MPGs on the highway. Anyway, that's beside the point. So not only are we going much longer than anticipated, but we're also going down roads that are faster. I think the wind was out of the south, so we're going against the wind. So anyway, bad day for my Zero. So kind of continuing on with the story, we met up, we drove like a mile or so. He had to stop for gas, stop for refill, he topped off, and then we got on our way. And so I start off with 100% charge, obviously, longer ride, and we're going down Highway 17, and we're just, we're going 65, 70 miles per hour. The speed limit is 55. But we're just going, and we're going, and we're going. And me, I am watching my battery percentage, state of charge, SOC. I'm just watching it go down. Going 65, 70, I'm losing about 1% of charge for every mile I ride. All right. So we're just going and going and going. It seems like forever, and it's like we haven't even made our first turn yet. And my state of charge is already, I don't know, it's probably below 80% this time. So I'm like, all right. So we finally turn right, and I'm like, okay, we'll go on this road for 3, 4, 5 miles, and we'll hit our twisty road, our fun road. And then we're just on this same road forever and ever. And I'm like, because I don't know where we are, because I don't have a smartphone. I'm just trusting this guy, and I'm just watching my state of charge go down and down, and I'm like, I started to get range anxiety. Because at a certain point with the EV, if you know how far the bike will go, and you know kind of how quickly the charge is dropping, in my mind, I'm like, all right, if we're not at this road, this twisty road that's about 8 miles one way, 16 miles, and I'm not if I'm below 60%, I'm freaking out. I'm not having fun. This isn't fun. So we keep going. I'm just watching my charge go down and down. And at this point, it becomes not like a range anxiety thing. It becomes a how far am I gonna let this go before I just raise my hand and say, you know what, nope, I'm done. I gotta stop, man. So it ended up being, I got down to 59%, and we were still like 5 miles away from the twisty road. So I pulled off onto a side road, and he pulled off, too, and he gets it, he understands, like, he thinks it's an awesome bike, it is. And I'm just like, hey man, I can't do this. Like, I gotta turn back, because if I would turn back going the same route that we went, that would be cutting it close right there. So at the turnaround point, and I'll show you in a little bit, I ended up driving about 44 miles, and we weren't even to the road yet. So 44 miles, and my state of charge was at 59%. Okay, so here is where we stopped. So there you kind of saw like where I stopped and where like we were intending to go. And this was like, mind you, this is kind of in like forested North Carolina, and this road, like, there's nowhere to like turn off. So we're going and going, and I'm like, fuck, I need to turn off. Sorry for my language. I need to turn off, and I can't do it. Like, we're going like 60, 65, and it's like, I don't know where to turn, so I have to like slam on brakes really quick to get off on this road. Luckily I turned on a paved road, because there's a lot of dirt roads. Turned on a road, stopped, he ended up going by me, turned around, coming back. It's like, hey man, I can't do it anymore. So he pulled out his smartphone. I'm like, all right, I need directions to get home. And so he pulled up directions, and this Google Maps directed him on the route that was 25.5 miles from where we were. So like, kind of like the route that we should have taken there, the Google Maps directed from me to my home using that route, 25.5 miles. So it's like, oh, this is what and I was trying to explain to him, I'm like, my bad, I should have been more assertive in like knowing which way we're gonna go. Like, this is the route we should have taken, not this long, out of the way route. But long story short, here is that route that I ended up taking home. So as you can see, I ended up, from where we stopped, I ended up getting home riding a total of 75 miles, and I got home with a 30% state of charge. So I had plenty of charge left when I got home. But if we would have done the route that we were going, and then I tried to get home that same way, I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it. Now, is that range anxiety? I don't think so, because like I said, it wasn't a matter of range anxiety. It became a matter of, when am I going to be man enough to say, hey, I didn't plan correctly, I can't make this ride, I got to go home. That's what it ended up being, because I know, like, if I'm going on a there and back ride, I want to give myself at least that 10 to 20% buffer of range, just in case. So I need to get to my halfway point at 55 to 60% state of charge to get home. And that depends, like, if I'm going against the wind, or if I'm going to be going against the wind coming home, those kind of things. So I don't think it's range anxiety. I think that was a failure to properly plan anxiety, because I didn't plan out my route, and because I have the bike that depends on that, and I just relied on somebody else to do it for me, I ended up having this issue. And I think that's kind of the thing with EVs. They do take more planning, but if you plan right, your trip's going to be more efficient no matter what vehicle you're in. So, again, long story short, I did that ride by myself, like it should have been, and it was about 82 miles total, and I come home with 30% state of charge left. And that's a lot of 55, 60, 65, a little bit of stop and go here and there, some twisties, and that's a good ride for this bike. Plenty long, I get home with plenty, no range anxiety, plenty, 30% state of charge, and I'm good, and it's fun. And honestly, by that time, I'm ready to get off this bike and take a break. So yeah, that's my story on my first kind of range anxiety with this bike. So that was my video for today. Thanks for watching and listening. Please subscribe, please like. Give me a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about range anxiety and that whole debate about electric vehicles. I'm curious. I think it tends to be a non-issue, a controversy, if you will. Yeah, I'm USMC Saxoki. As always, live smarter, live simpler, Saxoki your life. See you next time.